Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Investing from A to Z podcast. I'm your host, Steph Boldrini. This podcast is for everyone who wants to be part of our real estate family and learn commercial real estate investing from A to Z. I'll be sharing with you tips for real estate investing while being mentored by a few people with several years of experience, so that you and I can make the least amount of mistakes as possible and succeed a lot faster. My goal is to keep things very straightforward because I value your time and you are here to learn. With that, in the last episode, we learned how to go about understanding the political environment of a city that you might be interested in investing in. We also covered the worst retail deal from a very experienced retail investor, and we learned quite a few creative ways to deal with problems in real estate investing. And in this episode, I am going to be sharing with you a course that I took last year, and it has been transformative. And it is my little gift to you guys to share this because I am a full believer that once you take it, it will transform your life as well. And in the light of the new year coming up and you setting up goals for the year, I thought it would be very appropriate to talk about this course. I invited a friend of mine who is in real estate investing as well, and I shared about this course with him earlier this year. He ended up taking it, and it has been transformational for him as well. So this episode is just a conversation of what we got out of taking the course, which is not only benefiting our personal lives, but it also has given us breakthroughs in the work life as well. The only thing that I would love to request out of you guys is for you to let me know if you register for it. And also, I want to have a call with you and hear from you everything that you got out of it. It truly brings happiness to me to hear what people get out of this course. And it's a very special day when I talk to people after they have taken the course. A little bit about my guest today. His name is Bronson Hill. He has been investing in real estate since 2006. And he is an active general partner in over 700 multifamily units. His passion is to help others invest in multifamily, and he co-leads a large monthly meetup of multifamily investors in Pasadena, California, called Phoebe Pasadena Multifamily. Here we go. Today we're going to talk about a course called the Landmark Forum that has had a huge impact in my life. And as I was catching up with Bronson the other day, apparently in his life as well. Bronson, thank you so much for making the time to talk about it with us. I want to really share this with the world because it can have an exponential impact in the world. Why don't we get started, and maybe you can share a bit about Landmark.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks for having me, Stephanie. Really happy to be here today. I love talking about real estate. I love talking about personal development. And for me, these kind of both have been intertwined. So love having conversations about both of those topics. And just love to see where you want to go with it.
Why did you decide to take Landmark after we were having a conversation at an event earlier this year?
Yeah, so we were at the Real Estate Guys cruise or Summit at Sea, and basically I've had some friends talk about Landmark, and I'm into personal development. I do lots of different personal development courses or classes or just even seminars and different types of things, and I'd heard about Landmark from several people, and they all were very successful people. But then I heard just an endorsement when you said like, hey, you have to take it. It's just going to change your life. And I was like, okay, I guess I have to take it now. I guess it's going to change my life. And so that's kind of what got me to sign up. I really didn't have much by way of expectations. I just kind of just went in with an open mind, and the results of it were pretty profound. I can kind of talk about specific details in a bit, but just it really lived up to that endorsement that you gave, that it really has substantially changed my life in the areas of communication, becoming more authentic, particularly in the areas where I've been inauthentic with people, correcting some of those things, and really opening up all different types of new possibilities for business, for relationships, just pretty much in every way in so many aspects of my life. So I have not found a personal development event that is better than this event. And actually, compared to other events, it's actually substantially less expensive to some of the other ones that I've been to. So for many reasons, it exceeded every expectation, and I endorse it to everybody I can talk to. Of like, everybody should go to the Landmark Forum.
I wholeheartedly agree. And from what I recall in our conversation, I actually said, Bronson, you are good. Your life is good. You don't need this. And then it turned out that you got actually something out of it for your family, for example.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So like I said, I just came, with not many expectations. Where it really impacted me, I would say the most, was in my close relationships and just relationships with my family. So the few things that it really impacted and significantly changed was my relationship with my dad. There were some things that we had kind of been going through, and I felt kind of the last year we were much more distant. I was able to kind of own some things that I had kind of made him responsible for in my life, and was able to make that right with him. And same with my brother, who something happened when we were kids, and I was still living out. I mean, literally, this sounds like absolutely ridiculous, but we live out of these realities where we were literally playing with Legos. I was 5, 6, 7 years old, and I had kind of viewed him as a bully just since then. And so even now, kind of living out that we're both, in our 30s, and just still living out what happened when we were years and years younger. So that was very significant. So we had a great conversation at the end. He said, wow, I'm so glad that we had this conversation. I've been waiting for this call for a long time. And actually, probably the most significant one was with my former spouse that I've been divorced for a few years. We went through a legal process, and it was very challenging. And so basically, I had called her up and said, hey, I'm sorry, I've been inauthentic in my communication. And I shared some things that, basically I had been really making her responsible for certain things, really making her wrong, and so that I could be right, and really looking at her like she wasn't safe. And so anyway, this is something that she had experienced from me in the way we related, but we just never really talked about it. So when we talked about it, I said, I'm really sorry I've done this, and I'd really like to create something different, that in this situation, maybe we're not angry, divorced, or we're married, but we have this third option where we can co-parent our 7-year-old daughter effectively together, to be kind and supportive, more in a friendship way. So it really opened up a new possibility. But I'd say for those 3 relationships, it just was very, very significant for me.
Wow. I love how this work literally has ripple effects around the people that take it, even though the people around you haven't taken it.
Yeah.
For me, for example, what I got out of it, I used to get upset fairly easily at my loved ones, my immediate family. And that has 95% of that is completely gone. And it has been transformational. And what I realized is that when I remain calm under these situations where, let's say, you are visiting your mother and you're thinking, oh my gosh, here comes my mom butting in my life. No, she's simply asking you a
Yeah.
question because
Wow.
she loves you. And then when I remain calm, when my mom, for example, would get upset, I see that she ends up becoming calm herself. It does not escalate. And so things are so much smoother as a result of this work that, I took Tony Robbins quite a few years ago, and it was amazing for 2 weeks. And then everything disappeared. With this work, you get it, and it's for life. And that's why I want to make sure we take this episode to talk about it, because I want the world to get this for themselves as well.
Absolutely.
Have you discovered anything else in the communications area or performance area of work?
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick about what you just said. I had a friend who's a big Tony Robbins guy too, and he just came to this event recently with the forum, and he just had he pretty much said exactly what you said, of like, wow, this is really going to create lasting change. And again, I think the thing that really makes this program effective is that there's the idea where it really uncovers blind spots for you and for me, because there's the whole idea of we don't know what we don't know. We have certain things we know, or we know we know Spanish, or we know Farsi, or we know that we don't know Spanish, or we don't know Farsi. And so those are a lot of learning, of course, is moving from one side to the other, of like learning things that you know you should know. But there's this whole huge area of blind spot that we have no idea what's there. And really, this kind of gives you a platform and structures and ways to kind of help implement that into your life and just create really powerful, positive change. I've actually had a couple other breakthroughs kind of in the area of communication, where there's kind of a part two of the forum called the advanced course. And basically with that, I was there and I realized I'd been inauthentic in some of my communication with one of my coworkers and one of my bosses. And so I called them up on a Sunday. It felt kind of weird to call them up on a Sunday, but usually only talk at work. But I said, hey, it's really important. I just need to talk for a minute. And I just said, hey, this thing happened in business and I really made this about myself. And I just want to say I'm sorry about that. This is about something greater. And really what we work with, at least on the real estate part side, is really, having financial freedom for everyone. And that's a cause that's bigger than me, that's bigger than my boss or my coworker. And so I just said, I got this and I want to make this right. And it like literally created some changes. They say when you start to change or things happen, it like puts something out in the universe, and then just all of a sudden something happens. So literally like the next day I get a call from somebody else in the organization that was like, yeah, we felt like you'd be a good fit for this other type of role. And it was awesome. So it's amazing how just some little change, when you can express yourself. And again, when I say authentic in the areas of inauthenticity, it's like we so often go around in life and we're just kind of like, hi, how are you? I'm good. I'm this and that. And then especially in the areas when we treat people, we don't treat them well, or we withhold things from them. Just being able to actually have conversations about those gives you a lot more power in your communication, and it truly makes life more authentic and it makes it more alive. They talk about aliveness, like what actually means to alive, and it actually comes from people when they actually share how they're doing. They don't have to hide. They're able to own. I'm able to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. There's a safety in that. And this can be transforming both families as well as organizations. And that's what I love, kind of that link between personal growth and professional growth with this program. It really does both.
I was actually calling my old boss the other day and I said, you are leading an organization and you're taking this to the next level. You have to take this. So, yes, work is also a huge benefit in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, performance, just doing things without thinking about all the stories that we make up in our heads that are completely non-true, completely. And how much time do we waste thinking about these things and not acting is really incredible. The weight that it gets out of your shoulder to just go and do it. Especially for those people that always say that they're busy, this might be another area to look at, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that there's so many aspects that this touches that are powerful and transforming. And I think that we don't really make space for stuff like this in our lives, and our lives just kind of go on. And it does take intentional effort. I think it truly is action that creates these differences. And that's what's unique about it. It's not an informational type of event. It's much more like, even on the breaks and while you're in the middle of it, you're taking action, you're making phone calls, you're making things right. And then you get done with this and you realize, wow, my life looks a lot different. It looks a lot different than it did. So.
One of the distinctions that it's near and dear to my heart was when they told us to, quote unquote, give up being right, even though we think we might be right. I was like, what do you mean? If I'm right, I'm right. What do you mean give up being right? And so I vividly remember there was an event happening with someone close to me, and I was doing my homework of giving up being right. So I was going to react to what that person said, and I chose to zip it. And what it turned out was that that person was saying something completely different than what I thought he was saying. So that has been super helpful as well. What other distinctions are now part of your life?
Yeah, Stephanie. So I totally agree. I mean, I think being right is an issue for a lot of people, and of course, me, I'm always right, but everybody else is a big deal. But for my life, no, it's something that we all think that we're right, and it can be hard to let go. And I felt like this gives a real authentic way, and I keep using that word authentic because I think there's a lot of ways we can move forward, but we really lose connection with people, or we don't really live out of a place of integrity with ourselves. And this program really gives you the opportunity to kind of walk in a way that feels more authentic, where you can actually be close with people and have experienced that. I think when we can let go of having to be right, and this will give tools on how to do that, And again, it's just a totally different way of thinking. And it's just the idea of being, transformed in the way that you're thinking.
And when you talk about integrity, that reminds me of the exercise that they tell us to do, which is if we are late to something, or we're not fulfilling on the promise that we have made, we have to quote unquote restore integrity. And the way that you do that is by saying, look, I said I was supposed to be here at 2. I am here at 2:01, and you don't give any excuses about it, because it invalidates restoring your integrity. And then you say something like, the impact on you is that you don't know if I'm going to show up or not. And then next time moving forward, I'll make sure that I leave 15 minutes earlier. And so what that brought me present to as I was restoring integrity for literally being 1 minute late for a phone call was that, yeah, there is an impact on people when we don't show up and when we don't keep our word.
Yeah, this was kind of brutal for me. I mean, you talk about, being 1 minute late, and it was like honestly one of the more challenging things. Oh, I'm sorry, it's feel like, oh, my tail between my legs, I'm 1 minute late. But on the one hand, like, it really gets you to think about all the empty words and all the things that we say. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to show up here at this time, and we don't do a lot of it. And then
Yeah.
it comes down to our word. Like, what does our word really mean? And we think, oh, well, no, this is really important, or I promise, or whatever. And it's like, if our word doesn't mean what we say it means, then there's inconsistency. And that's the idea of integrity really not being a moral issue of like, oh, this is right and this is wrong. It's just simply, this really isn't functional for where you're trying to go. Because if you're saying you're going to do something and you don't, then there's a problem there. And so even by going to these really small things like, okay, I'm a minute late, and saying like, hey, I got to restore this, and say, I'm going to try to be on time next time. I just want to, I see that. And it's amazing kind of the ripple effects of that throughout the rest of your life, where you realize like, man, I've told people these things. I've said I'm going to call them. I've said I'm going to do this, and I don't even intend to do it. And I'll say it. And really, I think the biggest thing about integrity is more than how it affects other people. It's really about ourselves, how we view ourselves and how we look at ourselves. And so I found that, my view of myself started to change. It's like, oh, wow, I actually am somebody that can keep my word. I actually can follow through. I actually can follow through on promises and things that I tell people that I'll do. And if I can't, I'll call them ahead of time, or I'll give them a note. Hey, this is what's going on. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm sorry. And it
Mm-hmm.
really, I think when you put more weight to your words, kind of exactly what you said, is just that it really allows you to live from a place of being consistent. And so I love that you shared that. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and when you mention I'll try to be on time next time, they actually don't like the word try. You either do it or you don't.
It's like Master Yoda, do or do
Yeah.
not. There is no try. So it's like there should be a Yoda in that class.
That's really good.
I know.
The integrity thing does end up having the ripple effect on how people look at you. They know that they can count on you when you start literally showing up when you said you're going to show up
Mm,
or not.
yeah.
And so that brings a whole different way that people look at you and how they're going to work with you even, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I mean, you think of it in this way: if you have a team member and like, oh, they're going to kind of show up like 20 minutes late to everything, and you ask them to do something, and they'll say yes, but they may or may not do it. It becomes totally unreliable. And then we realize, like, the more we look at it, we're kind of like, well, I've kind of been that team member in certain areas of my life, or in my friendships, or in other things. And so I think, in a way, it's very humbling, because it's just like, oh wow, I really missed this in a way. But I think there's a humility that comes from just realizing, like, wow, like I am not perfect, and the more that I can learn in areas that will allow me to grow, and the more consistent I will be, the more it will allow me to be a better team player, to be a better family member, whether that's a son, or a brother, or a spouse, or whatever that is. I mean, those things are all really important, and people want to know they have someone that they can count on. And I think just in the words we use, as well as the integrity, is huge.
Agree wholeheartedly. I learned a recent distinction of quote unquote being cause in the matter, which means today I'm going to do this, and then you just go and you do it instead of not doing it, or like, oh, something else popped up. Have you
Yeah.
experienced that yet?
Yeah, no, that's a big one. I think, or I guess I should say, I don't think, I just know. But as I've made these changes, it's allowed me to, like I said, I'm going to do this, and I speak it out, and I say this, and I just do it. And if I have to make 10 calls today, like, it's really not that hard, and I can kind of sit and watch TV, or I can procrastinate or do different things. But they talk about the arena of performance, where you just What does it mean? It means if you have 10 calls to make, literally you pick up the phone and you call the first person. And
Yeah.
then, you get, whatever the result is, if you get a sale or you get it, they say something positive, what you want to share, then that's great. And if not, that's, you made the call, and then you make the next call, and then you hang up the phone, and you just kind of do this. And it comes down to very successful people just simply pick up the phone, or they just simply take the next step. And I really believe it's so simple.
Exactly. I was doing that yesterday, and I cannot describe how powerful that was. It brought me present to, wow, this is easy. You just boom, 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 boom. That's
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. It's not a lot of what we do in life. It's not that difficult. What is difficult is we make it difficult for ourselves. Oh, I'm dreading calling this person, or oh, I don't know, I want to get these other things done. And it's just when you actually just say, I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to make these calls. I'm going to sit at the computer. I'm going to write these emails, whatever it is, and you just do it. It really is very, very simple. And so it's what I hear when I hear cause in the matter, that I actually have so much power to bring positive change in my life, or I can just sit and complain about all the things that I don't have control over, versus you actually get up and you do something, and you actually take an action step. Even if it's a small step, you take a step towards where you want to go. And it's amazing what happens when you get in motion, when you get in action.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow, how incredible. I'm always so touched to hear what people got out of the Landmark Forum. Thank you for making the time. Is there anything that I forgot or that you got that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just for someone listening this, obviously I haven't met your listeners, but just for me, it really is something that there's very few things that live up to their recommendation. And this is something that for me has just been above and beyond what I would imagine. And again, I see they talk about opening new possibilities, that just you can be a part of creating any possibility for your life that you want. And we're told that there's so many limits, and you can do this, you can't do this, or by your family, or by your circumstances, your friends, or people have told you things. And it's just, this is a way to kind of erase all of that. Just be like, well, what do I want to create? What do I want to create with my life? What sort of difference do I want to make? What sort of impact? What sort of financially in a relationship? All of these things. And it's amazingly empowering to be able to have a clean slate in your life and have the chalk in your hand and create what you want to create. And that's really what this program gives you. And again, Stephanie and I, we're not here, like there's no pitch, there's no notches or level. There's nothing like that. It's just something that every single person, there's no compensation given. It's just that this is something that has impacted both of our lives. And for, the person listening, I would just really encourage you to check it out. You can go to an info night. Typically they do monthly info nights in different parts of the country. I think they're in like 30 countries in the world, and over 3 million people have done this program. It's being studied by Harvard and all kinds of things. So it's just basically how to improve your life in substantial ways. So 2 thumbs up from Bronson Hill.
Well said, Bronson. And this work is really everywhere in the world once you start to get present to it. It has ripple effects. And I would love to hear if anyone has registered and attend the forum. Please let us know. I would love to be there for you in the last evening, which is a Tuesday night. Please let us know. We would love to learn what you got out of it. Just for me, it's just, again, it brings joy to my heart. So I want to hear how many lives have been impacted by you attending. Let us know if you guys decide to do it. And if possible, I will be there. And I don't know about you, Bronson. If you
Yeah,
are
if you're in
LA.
I live in LA. I'll make time, reach out. So it'd be great.
Thank you so much, Bronson, for making the time to share this gift with everybody. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Stephanie. Appreciate you. Appreciate what you bring to people as far as value in real estate as well as value in life. So thank you for having me on. It was a real treat.
I am sharing the link to all of the courses available in the United States. You can search by country, you can search by city, and if you guys have any questions, I will be happy to chat with you. I really hope that some of you will transform your life this year and the lives of the people near you. As always, if you are learning something from this podcast, we will really appreciate a review. I hope you have an incredible holiday with your loved ones, full of really being present with them and enjoying their company and being completely upfront in a kind and gentle way. And I will see you guys next time.